So what's happened for us here so far is we've put a mulcher in here, knocked over all the trees at ground level. An excavator follows behind with a rake, rakes all the debris to the end of the roads to the waterways. The inline grinder comes along into the waterway, and we'll feed the debris into the feed and then straight out into the trailers, and off-site it goes. We'll take the chip from here, or the mulch from here. Some of it will get mixed into a compost, and some of it we will directly apply to the trees. I guess essentially what we're trying to do is reduce moisture loss, cover any bare ground, and in doing that activate the biology and get everything working in our favor.
In the last couple of years, when people realized in the mac industry, and I think in general in farming, that organic matter application has become fundamental and really is the cornerstone of sustainable climate smart farming. You're now having to put organic matter into a system. Fortunately with macadamias they give you quite a lot because you're pruning, they drop leaves, etc. But the conditions, particularly in Bundaberg or in areas of this temperature and this rainfall, is you find that the breakdown of organic material like this is a lot quicker than the trees can put in to rapidly build it up in a young orchard of 7, 8 years or 9 years old. So you find that at Macadamias Australia, for example, we've been doing it for 10 years and our rates have been climbing, but only in the last few years where we've been aggressively putting organic matter down, like they're doing here, Johan, and doing this approach here, that you find that it goes up a lot quicker. And that's because the amount you're putting in is far more than the amount that you're getting out. And the idea is that if you're putting in large bits with a few smaller bits and some leaf material, you can incorporate that with the method of profiling, where you're pushing soil on top of that organic matter, and you kind of create a spongy aerated matrix with air pockets where roots then can start foraging, and you create a soil depth, and you start mimicking as best you can what a well-established rainforest orchard floor would be like, which is again that porous high organic matter soil. And so the idea is that there are two different ways of doing it. You can compost it, which is like what Johan and them here are doing at Alloway Farm, and that basically allows you to get a richer quality material. Or the other way to do it, and we're trying that at Macadamias Australia, is to just put down the raw product like this, and putting it under the orchard, just because of sheer, we don't have enough compost, and this material you can get it under in one shot and you can carry on. And that basically results in you getting this material fixed into the top sort of 15 centimeters. That's really where you want it. If you look at the material you've got here, and if you sort of, the bigger bits will sit there and create structure or pockets, and then the smaller bits will get colonized by bacteria and the mycelium of fungus, and then the leaf litter, which is probably the more nutritious part to the soil microbial life, will all feed that 15 centimeters, and you create like a combination of structure and food on the smaller bits, and then you get the best of both worlds. And that's really what's so beneficial about particularly this kind of double ground material.
Absolutely. So with the chips, which we've used in the past, you know, after a round or two of harvesting, that blower would have blown it all off and it'll look like we haven't even put anything on there. So that's why we're really trying this type of product. So once it beds itself in, it's
that's
less,
better, yeah.
Just settle it in and keep it there for longer.
That's exactly right. It beds down, it almost settles down. And then of course we've got the irrigation on right here, and when you put this down, obviously you have to be cognizant that if you're putting a lot of material down, a lot of rain or irrigation has to go in to sort of bypass the mulch before it starts soaking into the soil. But once the moisture gets into the soil, it becomes a lot more persistent in the root zone, so you don't get that quick evaporation and the water's lost to an unproductive sort of loss. It rather is used up by the trees, which contributes to production, and obviously also allows nutrients to get taken up. So we're getting obviously the water use efficiency, which Johan mentioned earlier, but is just probably worth mentioning again. It's just because it's so valuable.